Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and today I'm going to be telling you about gateway adult fantasy books. So these are some books that I've picked out that are adult fantasy for people who might just be getting into adult fantasy or kind of just wanting to start reading adult fantasy, but not necessarily wanting to like jump into something really crazy right away, like The Wheel of Time or The Name of the Wind or something, or anything like with really insane world building that like just, you know, throws information at you or anything crazy like that. So yeah, here we go. One really good book to start with is GWenna IV by Mercedes Lackey. People do often ask me, since I talk about Mercedes Lackey so much, like what a good book of hers is to start with, and this is actually a very good one to start with as your first Mercedes Lackey book. So this one is based on the legend of, you know, King Arthur and Guinevere and whatnot. It has Guinevere as the main character, and she's a really badass warrior chick in this. And so because it does have to, it is kind of built upon folklore that we're somewhat familiar with, it definitely doesn't leave a whole lot of questions about the world and how it works or anything really crazy. It's mostly based around stuff that no matter who you are, your mind can already comprehend based on most likely things you've already read before. So that's always a really good way to go about it. And also the way that it introduces you to the characters and the plot is not super info dumpy at all, and it's really great, and it's a really gripping, interesting story the whole way around, and it's actually my favorite of Mercedes Lackey's books. And another really good book to start with if you're just getting into adult fantasy is The Privilege of the Sword by Ellen Kushner. Though this is a companion sequel, you can actually read this one first. It is the sequel to Swords Point, but I do think that this is more of a gateway book to adult fantasy than Swords Point is. Swords Point is very much a lot more of an adult fantasy. This one kind of has a lot of stuff that kind of almost makes it border on YA fantasy, but it's not. It's really weird. So this is kind of, there isn't anything too crazy in this. It's basically about a cool chick who's learning how to sword fight, all that stuff. The characters aren't super like complicated or anything. There isn't any magic in it. There's nothing like really crazy like world building or magic system wise that you have to like figure out at all. It's very much just kind of your typical Renaissance-y setting type of thing. And it's really, really good the whole way through. And also the main character is bisexual, so bonus. And the next book I'm going to talk about is Black Unicorn by Tanith Lee. This is about a girl who, she has this ability to put stuff together and it like fixes itself and whatnot. So she finds these bones of a unicorn and repairs it, and it turns into a live unicorn, and it's really insane. And then this live unicorn just like prances off, and she follows it and goes to all these crazy places, and all this stuff happens, and she finds out all this stuff. So this is a really good book in that it's not super complicated plot-wise, and everything that, all the world building that it gives you is pretty easily explained. There isn't anything super complicated about it, a lot like a lot of the books I'm already talking about in this. And again, just like the previous book I just mentioned, it does kind of border on YA a little bit. Like it does have elements of young adult fantasy in it, so it's definitely a very good one for especially YA fantasy readers to get into if you're starting to get into adult fantasy. The next one I'm going to talk about is The Noble Dead Saga by Barb and J.C. Hendy. The first book is Dampier. This is a sort of, it compares itself to a mix of Buffy and Lord of the Rings, and I do find that to be pretty gosh darn accurate. So it is a high fantasy with elves and stuff, and also vampires, so it kind of blends a lot of cool things into it in a way that we don't usually see in a lot of fantasy, so it's a very unique book. Though this is like a 14-book series, and though it does have quite a bit of world building to it, really I would definitely recommend this as a good gateway high fantasy book, because it really starts the series off with a bang. Like it really just grips you right into it. It plunges you right into all the craziness that's going on. So there's nothing to kind of like, there's no like blah, boring opening at all. And then also just the fact that the characters are very colorful characters. And the first couple of books, actually, even though the series has its own, like it has its whole plot that it goes into, the first couple of books really just kind of have the whole story arc just be that book mostly. And really the first 4 books even almost are each kind of their own story arc before it like gets you into the entire series arc in a way. So it is very it is like starting off a TV show, and the first episode is like the, you know, just kind of getting you into the show type of thing. So it's a really good, it's definitely a really good series, and I love the crap out of it, and you should totally read it. And finally, the last one I'm going to talk about today is Green Rider by Kristen Britton. I love this series. It is a series that's still going, but right now there are like 6 books or something in it, and it is so good. I love every single book in this series, and this is basically about a girl who becomes a Green Rider, which is a messenger for the king who like delivers, you know, life or death messages basically, and has to brave all sorts of dangerous things in order to do so. And there are a lot of really great characters in this. There's a lot of great adventure going on in this, but none of it's like crazy. It is actually very like this could have been a young adult series, but it just works so much better as an adult fantasy series. So there's not a whole lot of craziness that you have to like struggle to like keep referring to the map and the glossary or anything like that. It's a fairly straightforward plot, especially in the first couple of books. Characters are all really interesting, and it just really keeps you into it. So anyway, those are all the books that I have to talk about for you today. Those are all the like best gateway adult fantasy books that I could think of at the moment. But if you do have any recommendations for any gateway adult fantasy, or let me know what was the book that got you into adult fantasy, I'd love to know. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!